presentation was okay, but 1 or 2 points I want to tell you on the presentation was she went to
Okay,
RSR. She had come now here. Oh, you have not seen the patient. Fine.
yes,
Leave
ma'am.
it out. Okay, now you have to say when she was diagnosed. So, meanwhile, since she is a heart disease, what do we do normally? Do we alone treat? We also have a cardiologist will also see the patient simultaneously. So in the
Yes,
history,
ma'am.
you must ask whether she had gone to a cardiologist and had a consultation, which is a must for all heart disease complicating pregnancy. That you have to
Okay,
mention in the history.
okay,
And second one, you have to say you asked for polyuria, polydipsia, and you asked for a second trimester scan. How many times you'll do a scan normally in a woman in
ma'am.
pregnancy?
Ma'am, normally on dating scan, anomaly
No,
scan
how
both,
many
ma'am. Three,
scans
ma'am.
normally we do? Three. When do we do?
Three.
When do we do the
Dating
scans?
dating scan is on 6 to 8 weeks, ma'am. Anomaly
Okay.
scan is between 16 to 18 weeks, and growth scan is done in third trimester, ma'am.
Third trimester or 32 weeks. Normally,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
don't have a dating scan, we have to do a 9 to 11 week scan. That also can diagnose congenital anomalies like neural tube defects and anencephaly. So we do
Okay, ma'am.
usually between 9 to 11 weeks. Second scan is an anomaly scan. This lady have to undergo an anomaly scan because she already has a heart disease and also
Yes.
of consanguineous marriage. So
Consanguineous marriage.
some anomaly can be present. Okay, so that two things you must, and you must ask her
Yes.
whether she had gone to a cardiologist. Okay, now
Okay, ma'am.
investigations. Investigations. And you must also say where you have taken the pulse and BP. You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
just BP has 110 millimeters of mercury. You have to say where you have taken the BP in the left upper arm with the
Left
patient
upper,
in
ma'am.
a sitting position, dorsal position, lying position. That you have to mention because this is a heart disease. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now investigations.
Okay, ma'am. And first we'll do the complete hemogram. I will check the hemoglobin, packed cell volume, and then we'll do blood grouping, RH typing, and then VDRL, HIV, and HPSAG. All these three investigations are done in booking visit itself, ma'am. Then blood
What is the
sugar,
significance of doing hemoglobin?
ma'am. For
What is the
anemia, ma'am.
significance of doing
For
anemia? Anemia can also present
can cause
exactly like your heart
congestive heart
disease.
failure.
Yeah, so you have to know the differentiation. So you have to look for hemoglobin. Okay, then.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Then
blood sugar.
then serum creatinine and electrolytes, ma'am.
Okay.
Then liver function test, renal function test, and thyroid function test generally. And
Thyroid function test, when do you do?
ma'am, to rule out thyrotoxicosis, ma'am,
Yeah,
which can cause heart failure.
Which is more common, hypo or hyper?
Hyper, ma'am.
Hypothyroidism is more common. So
Hypo, okay, ma'am.
the baby might have going for neonatal hypothyroidism.
Hypothyroidism.
So what you do is, when do you do a TFT? You said the other
Ma'am,
things you do in the first trimester. Even thyroid function test should be done in the first trimester.
First
itself.
trimester, yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then echo,
And
chest X-ray.
Chest X-ray for to rule out any pulmonary edema due to heart failure.
In pregnancy, any precautions you take while taking a chest X-ray in pregnancy? You usually use a shield, abdominal shield, and then you have to take an X-ray. Normally, not for many cases we usually do. We can diagnose by echo. But if at all, if you're going to take a chest X-ray, you have to shield the abdomen and then take an X-ray. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Then.
And then ECG, echo, and then the USG abdomen.
Okay. Okay, now what do you want to do for this patient?
Ma'am, we can go for vaginal delivery, ma'am.
Now she is 11/7 due, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So 5 to 6 days to go. What do you want to do? You want to admit the patient and ask her to go home and come?
No, ma'am. We have to admit the patient, ma'am.
Okay, then?
Ma'am, if possible, we can do an percutaneous mitral balloon valvulotomy, ma'am.
Now, at third trimester? What is balloon testing?
Ma'am, it is done. Actually, it is done in at the end of second trimester, ma'am, or at the third trimester.
Any surgeries in pregnancy should be done only in the second trimester. not in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
first or the third trimester. And that too, if the patient has any symptoms, then we can do a balloon angioplasty. This patient doesn't have any symptoms. Maybe it might be a mild disease. So at this point of time, we need not do a surgery. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Then
ma'am.
what you going to do? You want to give her a vaginal delivery. You want to admit the patient?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you're going to admit the patient, and what you're going to do every day? She is due only on
Every,
the 11th. What will you
um,
monitor?
her heart rate, ma'am,
Yeah, what will you
BP,
monitor?
ma'am, she should not go to tachycardia, ma'am, which can precipitate heart failure.
Yeah, so every day, what are all
So
the things? Suppose if she is admitted in the ward, what are all the things you have to see? You're going to the ward. So
blood pressure, heart
she's
rate,
going to look for, yeah, pulse, BP, heart rate, then respiratory rate,
respiratory rate,
then for
and
the baby, what will you look for? Will you look for what? How will you monitor that the baby is fine or not?
fetal heart sound, ma'am.
Yeah, fetals, and how do you monitor? You will check or you'll ask the patient to check also.
I'll ask the, no, I will check, ma'am.
You will check. You must also ask the patient to do her own check. That is called what? That is called as Cardiff count to 10. That is, you must ask the patient from morning 8 o'clock. She has to count the number of times the baby moves. If she has 10 counts in 12 hours, then we know that the baby is fine. That is she monitoring.
Fine.
What you have to do? How do you monitor? How do you find out the FH? Using what?
By using a fetoscope, ma'am.
Using a fetoscope, or you can use a Doppler. And then hand-head Doppler is what everyone uses, so you can put in and then find out the heart rate. Any other method by which we monitor normally high-risk pregnancies
Um,
for antenatal fetal monitoring?
do-
Any test we do?
stress test,
Test.
I don't know, ma'am.
Test. So what we do is biophysical profile.
Biophysical profile, yes.
To monitor 5 parameters in biophysical profile. What are all the parameters we monitor? We monitor 5 things. One is non-stress test, fetal,
Okay.
respiratory tone, breathing movements, and then what is the tone and amniotic fluid volume. What is modified biophysical profile? Heard of it?
No, ma'am.
Modified biophysical profile is you monitor only 2 things. One is non-stress test and other is amniotic fluid volume. Heard of amniotic fluid volume?
Okay, ma'am.
What is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Amniotic.
Ma'am, we'll measure amniotic fluid volume by amniotic fluid index, ma'am.
Yeah. How do you measure like?
We'll measure the deepest vertical pocket in all the 4 quadrants, ma'am.
No.
We'll add them if it is,
Yeah. See, you can do 2.
if it is more than
One is if you add all the 4 quadrants, it becomes amniotic fluid index. When you do
Yes, ma'am.
SVD, that is called a single vertical pocket.
single vertical pocket.
Any single column, any place, if you have a single vertical pocket where you should not have cords in between, if it is more than 2 centimeters, then you take it as that the fluid is good. Amniotic fluid index means you divide the abdomen into 4 quadrants,
Four
and then
quadrants.
you add the amniotic fluid in all the 4 quadrants and then count. What is the normally at term, how much it should be roughly?
Ma'am, 5 to 24 centimeter, ma'am.
That is a wide range. 25 is polyhydramnios. At term, normally
ma'am.
people have around 10 to 12.
10
When
to
do you
12,
see
okay,
oligohydramnios?
Less than 5, ma'am.
Is it dangerous?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
It can cause abruptio placenta. I don't know.
Abruptio placenta, it can press on the cord. The baby moves only if there is fluid inside. If there
There'll
is no
be
fluid,
cord
means-
traction, ma'am.
yeah,
So fetal distress.
so you have to intervene and then deliver. Okay, now you are monitoring the patient. So everything is fine. A fetal heart rate is good, and amniotic fluid is good. Now what do you want to do? How long can you wait for this patient? She is due on 11/7. Okay.
Ma'am, we can wait up to yes, ma'am. We can wait up to spontaneous labor, ma'am.
Yeah, we can wait for spontaneous onset of labor. Okay,
Yes,
now
yes,
she
ma'am.
has now got abdominal pains. How do you know she has got into labor?
Ma'am, true labor pains will dilate the cervix, ma'am.
Yeah, then how will you differentiate between true labor pains and false labor pains? You must know whether she is in labor or not. No,
Ma'am,
she might say she's having
rhythmic and regular, ma'am. Uh,
true labor pains
yes, ma'am.
are.
Yes, ma'am. True labor pains are rhythmic and regular. There will be show, ma'am. A show
Okay.
will be present, and it won't disappear by rest, ma'am. Whereas false labor pain will disappear by rest, ma'am. They are not rhythmic and regular. There will be no dilatation of cervix also in false labor
Well,
pains.
how do you say it's rhythmic and regular? Regular means how many contractions?
Regular means, ma'am, 3 contractions in 10 minutes, ma'am.
10 minutes.
It's
Okay. Each lasting for?
uh, 40, 10, actually 45 seconds.
Yeah, each lasting for 45 seconds. And then what should be the intensity?
Intensity is
Yeah. The intensity must increase. As the pains
yes,
go,
ma'am.
the intensity will increase and frequency will
Decrease.
decrease. So the pain will be continuously coming, and then she will have the frequency which is less. So that is how you differentiate. So now she has gone into true labor pains, and
Yes,
she
ma'am.
is 2 centimeters dilated. Now what do you want to do?
Ma'am, now we can plan for vaginal delivery, ma'am.
Okay, so no, you want to shift her to the labor ward or you want to keep
Yes,
it
ma'am.
that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Labor ward, ma'am.
So at what dilatation normally we send the patient to
10
labor
centimeter,
ward?
ma'am. 10 centimeter.
10 centimeters patient will deliver. At what
Yes, ma'am.
centimeters you send the patient to the labor ward? Normally for a
Ma'am,
normal patient, I'm saying.
more than 6 centimeter, ma'am.
Yeah, normally they say 4 to 6 centimeters we have to send, but for a heart disease we cannot send late, no. So we have to send her early. So you send her to the labor ward. What precautions you will do? What setup will you do? Where should you deliver?
Ma'am, in
Any
labor
idea?
ward, she should be in a semi-recommend position first, ma'am.
Yeah, she should be in a high dependency unit. You cannot go
Yes,
and
ma'am.
deliver with a normal patient. So we do a special chair and a special room for these kind of patients. So what are all the things you must keep ready? She's a heart disease coming
Oxygen,
into
ma'am.
labor. Yeah,
Oxygen
oxygen.
inhalation, ma'am.
Then what
And
are all?
we have to give prophylaxis for infective endocarditis, ma'am.
Yeah, what injection you give normally?
Intravenous or intramuscular ampicillin, ma'am, 2 gram, and gentamicin of 1.5 milligram per kg body weight, followed by
Okay.
1 gram of parental ampicillin.
Okay, so you give her antibiotics, you keep oxygen
ma'am.
ready, you put her in a
Ready.
semi-recovered position. Any other things you must keep ready?
And ready, ma'am. Intravenous fluid should be restricted, ma'am.
Yeah. So
And
no intravenous fluids, right? Why you don't
and
want to put fluids?
ma'am, it can cause heart failure, ma'am. Already
Yeah.
she's
Because overloading the heart will
overloading
again
of
produce heart failure.
it
So
will
you're not
increase her
supposed
venous
to.
return.
Okay. Then what are the things you will keep ready?
Ma'am, for analgesia, epidural analgesia, we have to do, ma'am.
Yeah, epidural anesthesia
Because
can.
pain can
Okay.
stimulate tachycardia. So,
Yeah, very good. So you can give her epidural anesthesia. Any other thing?
ma'am, and
Any other emergency drugs you will keep ready?
drugs,
All
ma'am,
emergency drugs like Deriflin, Rusamide, everything you should keep it ready. Okay, now
okay, ma'am.
she is now progressing in labor. How do you plot the progress of labor? What do we normally do? How do we plot? We usually plot with the partogram. Have you heard of partogram?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, partogram.
So we have to plot a partogram. What do you look in a plotter? I mean, in a partogram, two things you have to see. One is descent of the head, and second is cervical dilatation. Descent of the head and a cervical dilatation. Okay, so cervical dilatation, how much it should dilate? For every hour, you are now
10
plotting
centimeters.
now 4 centimeters.
For every hour, it's 1 centimeter per hour, ma'am.
Yeah, 1 centimeter per hour in a primary and 1.5 centimeter per hour in a multi. So you see the progress of labor and the descent of the head. Now the head has come to the outlet. Now what do you want to do? The head has come to the outlet. You don't want to allow the patient to strain more. Why you don't want to allow her to strain more?
No, it can precipitate heart failure,
Yeah,
ma'am.
she can precipitate for. So you have to help her out. How will you help her out?
By giving an episiotomy, ma'am.
One is episiotomy. Another thing is,
Uh,
what is it called? Prophylactic
forceps
outlet
delivery.
forceps. Yeah, we give them prophylactic outlet forceps. We don't want the mother to strain, so you apply a forceps and then take the baby out. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then,
Yes, ma'am.
then what will you do after delivering the baby?
Then we have to actively manage the third stage of labor, ma'am.
How will you manage? What is it called?
Active management of third stage of labor, ma'am.
Liver or Amstel. Okay. What will you do? What do you give?
We'll give first oxytocin, ma'am, uterotonic
Yes.
agent within 1 minute of delivery. Next, we have to delay the cord clamping, ma'am.
Yes.
And the next is by deliver the placenta by controlled cord traction.
Okay. So
And
can you
then,
give methogen to this patient?
Ma'am?
Can we give methogen? Previously we
ma'am.
were giving.
No, ma'am.
No, why you should not give?
It
Particularly,
causes, ma'am, it causes contraction, ma'am, tonic contractions.
one is tonic contractions. Because of tonic contractions, what
Tetanic
happens?
contraction.
Yeah, what will
Tetanic
happen to the
contractions.
mother?
Ma'am,
Yeah, right. That is contraction. What will
all
happen?
the fetus won't get the blood, whereas
All the blood will go to the heart
will go
suddenly.
to heart.
So she'll go in
Yes,
for
ma'am.
failure. So we are not
Yes,
supposed to do methogen. Okay. Okay. So once
Yeah.
when you deliver, then you have to suture the episiotomy as early as possible.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
When will you shift the patient to the postnatal ward?
After monitoring her for 1 hour, we'll shift the
Normally,
patient.
when will you shift for normal patients? We can shift after 6 hours. But for heart disease,
6
we
hours.
keep them for a minimum of 48 hours. So
48
patient
okay.
might go in for failure. So you have to keep her for this one. Okay. Then what is the type of contraception you use for this women?
Ma'am, IUCD can give me.
Yeah, IUCD can be given
Intracom.
on, yeah, that is the best because she is a primary. Suppose if she is a second gravida,
Then
OCP should not be given
No,
for heart
ma'am.
disease
We
patients.
can go for
We can go for a
tubectomy, ma'am.
sterilization, or if the husband is willing, we can go for a vasectomy.
Vasectomy.
Okay. What are all the complications that can happen for a heart disease?
Heart disease complications are one is heart failure, ma'am.
Yeah, mainly patient will go in for sudden cardiac failure and then
Yes, ma'am.
peripartum cardiomyopathy, pulmonary embolism, all complications
embolism.
to heart disease can happen. So you must be very careful in monitoring these patients. When you can
Okay.
allow the patient to feed this patient, you can allow her to feed.
Yes, ma'am. You can allow.
Yeah, grade 1 and grade 2 failure, you can allow the patients
Can
to
allow.
feed.
Yes, ma'am.
Only in grade 3 and grade 4, we do not allow them to feed the
Feed.
patients. Okay. Okay, this is the management. You had a simple case of grade 1 New York classification. So it is easy to manage. Only 3 and 4, it will be difficult to manage. Okay, now we'll go for a PowerPoint presentation. We will describe the whole of your heart disease. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, for a heart disease complicating pregnancy, this can be given as a case in your exam. Most probably, we will give you a case like this where the patient comes with grade 1 and grade 2 diseases. Okay. So, what are the common complaints you have to ask for the patient? Here, the patient had come for safe confinement. Sometimes patient might come for the first time for evaluation or investigations, or they may come with specific complaints like breathlessness. If the patient comes with breathlessness, you must ask for whether the patient is breathless while doing any activity, whether she is breathless at night or even at rest. That is more important. That will give you a grade of dyspnea for the patient, and you can classify according to that breathlessness. Then ask for chest pain, palpitation, syncope, and fatigue. Cough with expectoration. Some patients with mitral stenosis have come to the hospital with just hemoptysis alone. So you must ask for hemoptysis, any swelling of the legs, patient has any fever, or if she is able to appreciate the fetal movements. So all these things, if the patient does not have any palpitation also, you have to mention in your record no history of palpitation, no history of chest pain. Even negative history carries some importance. Then going to the past obstetric history, any history of cardiac failure in previous pregnancy. And if she has cardiac failure, you must know at what gestational age she had that cardiac failure and what was the grade of failure and when was she diagnosed and admitted. See, in every part of heart history, heart disease, you must tell when she was diagnosed. That's what even I asked Sabya, when she was diagnosed. That is more important. And when she was admitted, any treatment taken. Here in your case, the patient had only medical management. So sometimes we do surgery for the patients. Nowadays, with advance in technology, we do surgeries and patient may present with post-surgical complications. Post-surgery on anticoagulants. So that kind of patients also we do get. So you must ask whether the patient had taken any treatment or not. What was the baby weight? Suppose if she had delivered, a previous one she had a delivery means, you must ask whether she was delivered by LSCS. And what was the baby weight? What was the cardiac anomaly? Whether the baby had any anomaly or the baby died? What was the puparium? In puparium, you might go in for thromboembolism. And what was the contraception used? What past medical and surgical history? You must ask history of rheumatic fever. This patient had history of rheumatic fever. Then any history of congestive cardiac failure, any cardiac corrective surgery. Suppose if the patient had a congestive cardiac failure in the previous pregnancy, this time, the cardiac failure may occur at an earlier gestational age. For example, if she had cardiac failure at 32 weeks, this time she might have a cardiac failure at 28 weeks. So that's the reason why we ask them when she has cardiac failure in the previous pregnancy. History of thyrotoxicosis, repeated your upper respiratory tract infection, any history of drug intake, digoxin, diuretics, penicillin, and any history of congenital heart disease. Then what will you do on general examination? Here on general examination, you must look for whether the patient is dyspneic, febrile, clubbing, cyanosis, whether the patient has two things you have to look for in general examinations. One is any ear infection, particularly CSOM or any dental caries. Then you have to look for JVP. On the vital signs, you must say a pulse rate, rhythm, volume, regularity, radiofemoral delay, whether felt in all peripheral vessels. BP, again, which limb she is taking, what is the position, any thyroid enlargement, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, and any respiratory rate. Then the functional capacity. You're able to see the screen, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you're able to screen.
Yes, ma'am.
அவங்க இவங்க வருவாங்களா அந்த ஆடியன்ஸ் அது எதுல வரும்
கூகுள் மீட்ல போனாலும்
எங்க இருக்கு
இதுவா
ஜூம் இல்ல இது கூகுள்ல இருக்கு
இல்லனா இத போய் பாருங்க இது இருக்கும் இதுல போய் கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க இதுல கிளிக் பண்ணிட்டு இங்க
வர மாட்டேங்குது ஸ்கிரீன்
பிரசன்டேஷன் டு எவரிவன்
வரலையே எனக்கே வரலையே
One
minute, ma.
Stop presentation. Stop now. Either a window. You enter on screen window. Chat.
Is it seen, ma? Is the screen seen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now, New York heart classification. Okay. Class 1 is uncompromised. There is no limitation of any physical activity and no symptoms. Class 2, there is slight limitation of physical activity. Our case, we had only class 1. Okay. If there is slight limitation of physical activity, mild symptoms caused by ordinary activity. Class 3 is marked limitation of physical activity, symptomatic with light exercises. And class 4 is severely compromised. The patients are symptomatic even at rest. So this classification you have to say at the end of your presentation when you are presenting a diagnosis, you must put as NIHA classification class 1, class 2. Okay. Next in obstetric examination. Obstetric examination as usual, but what happens in heart disease is sometimes patient might go in for an intrauterine growth retardation. So you must always have a growth scan at the third trimester, preferably from 28 weeks. Every 15 days we do a scan and then monitor the growth. We have to find out whether the baby is growing properly or not. Okay, then what are the routine investigations we do in a normal patients? As already mentioned, you have to do a urine routine and culture sensitivity. Normally for all women at the 5th month, roughly around 20 weeks, we do a culture and sensitivity to rule out asymptomatic bacteriuria, which may later precipitate with anemia and failure. So you have to do a urine culture sensitivity. On an X-ray chest, you must look for cardiomegaly, straightening of the left border, only if necessary. As we mentioned, only if necessary, we do take an X-ray with shielding of the abdomen. Then we do an ECG. We preferably do a 2D echocardiography, or a transesophageal one is better. With color Doppler, you can assess the cardiac status, structural abnormality, functional capacity, but cardiac catheterization alone gives you an accurate diagnosis. Coming to the management. So in the exam, or when the examiner asks you how do you manage a heart disease, the first thing that you have to say is we manage at a tertiary care center. Tertiary care center means a PHC or a government headquarters hospital. We normally do take up heart diseases. It should be delivered preferably in a tertiary center, and it should be an interdisciplinary approach. That means the patient must be seen by the cardiologist simultaneously. Normally what we do is, once when the patient comes in the first trimester, if she doesn't have symptoms or not, we just send her to a cardiologist. And then at times when she develops failure, or preferably at the 28th or the 32nd week, we again send the patient to a cardiologist. Thorough evaluation is at first visit is more important. Many a times nowadays we are getting patients where they have been diagnosed with cardiac disease and then come to us. But sometimes the patient will have a heart disease, but she will not be able to, she doesn't know that, and we have to diagnose it. So the main purpose in sitting in the OP is not just seeing the BP. We have to put a stent on the patient's chest, auscultate, find out if there is going to be a murmur. If there is going to be a thrill, definitely the patient might have a heart disease. So you have to take the opportunity at the first visit itself to diagnose a heart disease. So establish an accurate diagnosis. Then and there itself, you must also put her under New York Heart Classification. What is the risk stratification? We have divided this heart disease group into 3 groups according to WHO: category 1, category 2, and category 3. Suppose when they come under category 3, suppose if they have Meniere's-Menger syndrome or a tetralogy of Fallot and all the congenital heart disease, they might be advised in MTP. Organize them in the first visit. If they come in the first trimester, you must know whether this patient can continue the pregnancy or we have to do an MTP. For certain category of diseases, we do an MTP. So that is the most important thing you do in the first visit. Then if the patient has come in the first trimester, and if it is a correctable surgery, suppose if she has stenosis, we can do a balloon valvuloplasty at the second trimester. So you must also counsel her regarding MTP and cardiac surgery. Strictly, you have to monitor hemoglobin, BP. Treatment, suppose if the patient has associated anemia, hypertension, infections, or diabetes, you must treat them. Always you must say that grade 1 and grade 2, you can treat them as OP, whereas grade 3 and grade 4, you must hospitalize the patient and then investigate and correct her failure. Then how do you manage frequent visits? Fortnightly till, then they'll ask you how frequently you ask the patient to come. Then you must be able to say that you have to ask the patient to come fortnightly until 30 weeks and then weekly until term. Cardiologist's opinion should be obtained. And every visit, you must ask whether there is an increase in breathlessness or there is a limitation of physical activity, and give her advice regarding adequate rest, and medications, iron and folic acid should be given, and any precipitating factor. Suppose when you have an additional UTI or an URI, your heart failure or your chances of getting heart failure is more. So you must look for any infectious sources and then try to treat them. Then now when she is admitted in the antenatal ward, give her rest, sedate her. Sometimes if she's not able to go to sleep, you can give diuretics, prophylactic antibiotics, and digoxin if the patient is in labor. What are all the predictors? You must know which patient will go in for cardiac complications. The most probable patients who will go in for cardiac complications are NIHA classification 3 and 4, cyanosis, myocardial dysfunction. Suppose on an echo, you get an ejection fraction less than 40%, then this patient is more prone for cardiac failure. Then ask for history of heart failure, arrhythmia, stroke in the previous pregnancy. And again, if the mitral valve area is the most important one, they'll give you in the report what is the mitral valve area and the aortic valve area. If the mitral valve area is less than 2 centimeters squared, she goes in for a critical mitral stenosis, and this patient will have a very bad outcome. So you can do a balloon valvuloplasty at the second trimester itself. Okay, now after categorizing them into the 3 risks, as I told you, low risk, moderate risk, and high risk. Low risk patients have a maternal mortality rate less than 1%. A moderate risk patients will have a mortality of 5 to 15%, whereas a high risk patient will have a mortality of 25 to 50%. You must know what are all the diseases comes under low risk, like septal defects. Septal defects are mild. Mitral stenosis again mild. Whereas high risk is Nissen-Menger's and dilated cardiomyopathy. These patients might be advised an MTP so that once when they are corrected and then they can proceed with pregnancy. So maternal life is more important. So you must advise them MTP. In labor, as we have already told, vaginal delivery is safe. Wait for spontaneous onset of labor. Positioning is more important. You should not ask the patient to lie down. Again, the whole pressure of the uterus may put on the heart. So you should always deliver the patient in the dorsal or a semi-recumbent position. Emergency drug should be available. Avoid IV fluids. IV fluids should be 75 ml per hour. Oxygen should be kept ready, whereas here you have to give oxygen for grade 3 and grade 4. Adequate analgesia, you can give epidural analgesia. What is the labor management? It is just like moderate exercise for the patient. So you have to look for tachycardia, look for any increased cardiac output. If the patient is pain, anxious, you have to relieve her, and epidural analgesia is better. Then labor management, we have already discussed. So cut short the second stage of labor by prophylactic outlet forceps, no ergometrin. Injection furosemide can be given. No LSCS. LSCS is indicated only in obstetric conditions and in uncorrected coarctation of aorta. The only place where you do a cesarean section is coarctation of aorta, and for obstetric indications you can do infective prophylaxis. This can be given as Savraj has mentioned. Ampicillin can be given along with gentamicin. How will you manage a puerperium? Puerperium is the most important period because most of these patients will go in for decompensation or death happens only in the puerperium period. So you must be very careful in puerperium. See whether she is having any increased temperature or any sources of infection. Give her antibiotics. Breastfeeding is contraindicated in grade 3 and grade 4. Grade 1 and 2, we can ask the mothers to breastfeed and evaluate the baby. The baby, there is a 10% chance of the baby acquiring congenital heart disease if the mother has a heart disease. So you have to assess them and then again ask the patient to be reassessed at 6 weeks postpartum. What are the contraindications of pregnancy? As already mentioned, Nissen-Menger's, Marfan's, dilated cardiomyopathy. The next important question is contraception. What contraception you advise for the patient? You give them barrier contraception or progesterone only pill. IUCD is safe nowadays. We give them IUCDs with IP prophylaxis except on anticoagulation. Normally, no oral contraceptive pills. Permanent sterilization can be done. And if the patient is not fit, you can ask for a husband going in for a sterilization procedure. Tubectomy, if at all you're going to do a tubectomy, we don't do it immediately. The tubectomy procedure which is done immediately is called as puerperal sterilization, that we don't do in a cesarean, meaning in a cardiac patient. It is usually done after 6 weeks after delivery. A mini laparotomy can be done, no lap sterilization, because again, when you're putting gas inside the abdomen, it can produce an effect on the heart. Then what are the indications of cardiac surgery? When do you do a cardiac surgery? Recurrent congestive cardiac failure, or if the patient has tight mitral stenosis. As a case now, this case might have a mild mitral stenosis, but we do get cases with tight mitral stenosis where the mitral valve may be 1.5 centimeters square. So in that case, we do a balloon valvuloplasty, and that has been safe. We have done 2 or 3 cases in our hospital itself where the balloon valvuloplasty has been done. All these advice will be given by the cardiologist. So it is better to send the patient to a cardiologist in the first trimester itself. Indications of MTP is already mentioned. And another word on anticoagulation prophylaxis. Previously, we used to get patients only with rheumatic heart disease with mitral stenosis, but nowadays we do get patients who have been operated and then they will be put on anticoagulation like warfarin. Suppose this patient who's on warfarin gets pregnant, then what will you do? Suppose if the patient is on warfarin, you should stop warfarin and ask her to take heparin, because warfarin produces first trimester congenital anomalies. So you do have congenital anomalies with warfarin, immediately you have to stop them. So put her on heparin. And once after 12 weeks, she has caused that period of organogenesis, then you can switch over to warfarin. And again at 36 weeks, we must switch over to heparin, because at any point of time, she can deliver. So to stop that any effect on anticoagulation during pregnancy, what we do is we switch at 36 weeks. So we do switch from warfarin to heparin, then again warfarin in the second and third trimester. At 36 weeks, again we switch over to heparin. And after delivery, we can start on warfarin. This is more important because while switching over, you should not stop a particular drug. The effect of anticoagulation must be there, INR should be maintained, and this switchover should be in concordance with your INR. So that you must be, you have to keep it in mind while treating a patient on anticoagulation. What is the prognosis? Prognosis is good in patient more than 35, is very bad. If the history of previous pregnancy, she had a cardiac failure, and if she has a high grade congenital heart disease, then her prognosis is very bad. And it also depends upon your socioeconomic status, poor socioeconomic status, hygienic condition, nutrition deficiency, all this one bears an effect on your prognosis. Now, what is the maternal mortality? So, maternal mortality is nearly 1% in grade 1 and grade 2. Most of these patients, we don't have any problems. But in grade 3 and grade 4, you can go up to 50% mortality. And most common causes of death are acute pulmonary edema, congestive cardiac failure, infective endocarditis, and arrhythmias. Most commonly the most common cause of death when they ask you means it is usually congestive cardiac failure. So you must auscultate her lungs, see whether she is going in for failure, so that you can take that. Okay, now a word on pre-pregnancy counseling. Suppose this patient has a mitral stenosis and she comes to you before pregnancy itself and asks whether she can get pregnant or not, then you have to counsel her. So nowadays people are coming for pre-pregnancy counseling. It's better for heart disease to have a pregnancy as a planned event. A cardiologist should also take part. You must do a corrective surgery if possible before pregnancy, so that it doesn't pose any problem in pregnancy. If pregnancy is contraindicated, you must be able to explain the risk to the patient and ask her to undergo an MTP. And if she has any coexisting conditions also, she must get herself treated. So it's better nowadays. Pre-pregnancy counseling is for heart disease, diabetes, everything. We do a pre-pregnancy counseling and then ask them to conceive, particularly in heart disease and diabetes. Then infective endocarditis prophylaxis is already mentioned. If the patient is having a prosthetic valve, suppose there is a valve kept inside her heart, like a mitral valve, prosthetic valve. In those cases, you must be more careful in anticoagulation. And any repaired cases of cardiac diseases also, you must be more careful to substitute this anticoagulation. I think this has been. Suppose if the patient has come in preterm labor, what will you do? Here, tocolytics are contraindicated. You cannot give a tocolytic. Beta agonist and nifedipine may worsen the tachyarrhythmias, palpitations, and hypotension. So in that case, you can give the only tocolytic that is available is atosiban. Atosiban is an oxytocin antagonist. So that drug can be given when the patient is on preterm labor. And peripartum cardiomyopathy, as I said, this is one of the complications. But this, you have to have 5 points to say that the patient has a peripartum cardiomyopathy. So it is only a diagnosis of exclusion. Patient, when do you say that the patient has a peripartum cardiomyopathy? When the cardiac failure occurs in the last month or within 5 months of delivery. There should not be an identifiable cause for cardiac failure, absence of heart disease in the last month. And if you look at the echo, ejection fraction should be less than 40%, and your left ventricular diastole. This is an echo finding marker by which you say peripartum cardiomyopathy. These are some of the complications that can occur in heart disease. I think that finishes with heart disease. But for practical points, what I insist is you have to, Ashwini, in the exams, suppose when you get a heart disease, first and foremost is The first and foremost is taking a proper history. Taking a proper history, mentioning the time at which heart disease was. This project. This stop sharing protocol.
ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிட்டாங்க.
I'm presenting. See, when you get a heart disease in the exam, the first and foremost is in the history itself, you can say a case of heart disease so and so has come. Second is you must know when she was diagnosed, what present treatment she is taking, whether she is on anticoagulants and whether she is on prophylactic antibiotics. Both these things had to be continued in the pregnancy. Third is first visit itself, she must have a cardiologist consultation. The patient should be having an interdisciplinary approach for antenatal care where she sees both the obstetrician and the cardiologist. And fourth thing, every time you examine the patient when she comes for antenatal checkups, you have to ask for dyspnea. You must ask if there is a progress of the disease. Usually heart disease progresses one grade higher. Suppose if she comes with grade 2 means by the time she ends in a pregnancy, she will go in for grade 3. So you must ask the progression of the disease, and then it should be a delivery should be at a tertiary level center, not at a primary health center. Then what are all the precautions you will take during delivery is vaginal delivery is safe. Position of the patient, oxygen, antibiotics, prophylactic drugs should be kept ready. Then help her out using a outlet forceps and look for failure in the postpartum period. And then best method of contraception, you have to advise a contraception because these patients will again come with pregnancy, so contraceptive device is a must. And then in the postnatal period, she can go in for corrective surgeries so that her life can be prolonged to a longer extent. Suppose if she is in grade 3 and grade 4, even if she is going to have only one child, ask her to undergo a sterilization procedure or ask her husband to undergo a no scalpel vasectomy. These are the simple points by which you will be given a heart disease. Any doubts? I think you can ask now. Sabaj, Sabya, any doubts? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes. Any doubts you have, you can ask.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Understood. Either you understood everything or you didn't understand anything.
Understood, ma'am.
Understood. Okay. No doubts? Why only 56? Only that much of persons are coming for the class, everywhere? How do you take the attendance for the classes like?
Ma'am, only around 60 of us
60,
are
ma'am.
posted.
Only 60 are posted, or usually only 60 for this batch you attend, or the whole class doesn't attend like? How is it like? No, this is the first time even I am presenting here. How
Ma'am,
is
this
it?
is a postings class, so only 60 of us, ma'am.
The persons who are posted here only will
Ma'am,
attend
only
this
60
class.
are posted, ma'am.
No, I'm asking also, it's like batch wise only. It's not for the whole class like. So
Yes, ma'am.
the other batch will attend medicine, one batch will attend surgery. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
so?
It's batch wise, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
No, what we had in Stanley was the whole class will attend classes. That is, medicine we'll have it at 9 to 10, and 10 to 11 we have medicine, and 11 to 12. Like that we used to take classes. So the whole batch would attend, because this is an online class, no. So again, it need not be repeated. Anyhow, we don't have any proper interaction. So what do you do in the morning? Like, suppose you're posted in OG means you attend this class, and then at 11 to 12, an assistant is taking class, no?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And that's
We'll have a tutorial class, ma'am.
So that's all. So
I mean,
no, 1 to 2
afternoon we'll have theory classes, ma'am.
theory classes for all subjects, like, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Peds, medicine, everything.
Why you want to have exclusively like this, huh? You will be more advantageous when you are listening to many classes. After that, you won't be listening OG, no? After 3 months or something like that, you won't attend OG, like, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Because, you feel this is comfortable, then it's okay. Because there means one class, the whole class listens on obstetrics. Then the whole class will listen on medicine. So the number of classes will be more like. Suppose if you attend for this posting alone and again for the next postings, you won't attend OG means, then again you'll forget the subject, no? So that advantage they had. You can attend your classes throughout the year like. That happened last year, but I don't know whether you have to come after August or something. So then you will miss. Okay, whatever is it, whatever the procedure the college follows, we have to follow. Okay, fine. We can end the class.